A pro-life father of 11 stares down the barrel of Biden's DOJ and wins a victory. Through the diligence and perseverance of the legal counsel over at the Thomas More Society, Paul Vaughn is walking away without any prison time for his pro-life witness. The DOJ may have been able to win the battle, so to speak, of convicting Paul in the first place on a FACE Act violation and sentencing him to 3 years of supervised release. But his lawyers, namely Stephen Crampton, won the war of keeping Paul out of prison as they now seek to overturn his conviction altogether. Joining us now to discuss is the man himself, pro-life advocate Paul Vaughn. Paul, thanks for being here tonight. It's really nice to see you again.
Glad to be with you again.
Great. So the judge in your case finally showed some leniency. That is wonderful. We haven't seen that for many other pro-life advocates out there. But can you talk to us in your specific case with this specific judge, how the leniency came about?
Sure. Well, I mean, first and foremost, it's really an answer to prayer. Hundreds, if not thousands, of people have been praying for the sentencing hearing, and for not only mine. Of course, there were 3 other defendants sentenced on the 3rd as well. And the judge really seemed to, this is the first aspect of the trial that's just truly been 100% in her control. Right. Everything else she's kind of a referee on and sitting and trying to determine guidance from the court's previous, hearings and statements and evidence and all those rules that our legal system's made of today. And so I really felt like she looked at the people and the evidence of our life, the testimony of the work that myself and the 3 other defendants are engaged in our communities and our lifelong history of serving Jesus and just being a witness for him. And she realized in the big scale of things, of all the people that have come through her courtroom, we were not dangerous people. We were people that loved God and loved our neighbors and really had a sincere belief and desire to help our country. And I think that weighed heavy on her. And I think she felt like she didn't want to be the person putting those kind of people in jail. And so we're very thankful to God for that. And we're thankful for the leniency that she showed us.
I'm so glad about that as well, because I know there were, in the other case in Washington, D.C., right, with a lot of those pro-life advocates, and they didn't get that same leniency, unfortunately, from their judge. And the DOJ was even using language, they kept using language of violence, saying that these pro-lifers, mostly, older people who were singing prayers and hymns, and the only thing that they did is they, basically tied themselves to some chairs at the abortion clinic in D.C., but the DOJ kept using terms like violence. And you can see the video, and there was nothing violent about them. And unfortunately, the judge in that case, like I said, was putting them behind bars. Even one woman who's well into her 70s, who's afraid she may die behind bars. And same thing, they just went, well, you denied others their rights and their health care. And again, kept going back to the word violence to justify the evil cruelty they were doing. So that's why, like you said, in your case, thank God that there was leniency shown. And so you were able to spend the 4th of July with your family. I'm sure that came as a huge relief to all of you. And so now as you move forward with this case, there's a supervised release. Yes. However, you're able now to continue going on with your appeal. So has there been any updates to that process?
Sure. Just a few moments ago, I actually got an email from Steve. We filed the notice of appeal with the court. And along with that, Kara, we filed a request to stay the sentencing pending the appeal. So even though I only had 6 months house arrest and 3 years of supervised release as a sentence, that's still unjust. All right, we've already been on parole basically for 21 months at this point. And so an additional 3 years and 6 months of house arrest just adds to that injustice that's been perpetrated on us. And when we didn't block, we didn't do any of the FACE activities. Our only crime, which came out in the sentencing hearing as we talked with the judge, is that ideologically, I agreed that slowing down and prohibiting abortions that day was a good idea. That if the police officers acted slowly and more babies were saved, I was in agreement with that. And therefore, that made me a criminal conspiracist with the people that wanted to sit down at the doors and actually block the doors. And so it's completely unjust. And we are thankful, of course, to be fighting the appeal from home and not from jail. But it is still a fight, and we're still engaged in it. And even as of the last hour, these documents have been filed. So we're praying and hoping God gives us a victory there as well.